Chaps, I've got Adam, fitness coach, and you contacted us somewhere on social media. I've already forgotten that. Mate, I liked your content because the reason being is you do bounce around mental health, but it's not your focus. But the main thing is about fitting in. This is where people stop watching. The minute I start saying exercise, it's about getting exercise to fit in with your life.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a theory that something is always better than nothing. And whether that be a 10-minute walk or whether it be a home workout or going to a gym or a swim, it's about making it work into your lifestyle. So whether you're busy with work, family, whatever it is, there's always something you can do. And I think there's a real stipulation: exercise has to be an hour or exercise has to be this. And it doesn't, it can be as little as 5 or 10 minutes.
That's a valid point because one of the, some of the comments and the messages that I see and some conversations I'm involved with, I use quite a dramatic circumstance. I don't know. There's somebody, a high flyer, has done very, very well in their life. I don't know. They've got addicted to alcohol or they've just sunk into depression. It doesn't matter what it is. They've fallen off the wagon. Then what happens is once they start fixing themselves mentally, they get stuck in that thing of like, I need to sort my body out, which because they can't straight away run 500 miles and sign up to fundraising for marathons, because that's what social media tells you to do, they then sink backwards because the term exercise is associated go to the gym every single day for a minute. Am I making sense or am I just
Yeah,
waffling?
you are. Funnily enough, I've got a post that's coming out this evening about that. I think exercise can take so many different forms, whether it's walking the dog or it's dancing with your kids or it's going to a party and just letting loose and dancing, something like that, going for a walk. There's so many different shapes and forms, and exercise looks different for everyone, whether it's going for a swim or getting a bike out or just putting your headphones in and listening to a podcast as you go for a walk. It's different for everyone. I think you're right that there is a kind of real stipulation. It has to be the gym or it has to be training for a marathon or triathlon. It doesn't at all. Some of the best things have started with just a 10-minute walk, taken every single day as it comes. And that's all it takes.
Well, that's the thing, and there, let's face fact that there is science, solid, proven science that even the smallest, like a 2-minute walk, can do wonders for your mental health.
Absolutely. Just getting outside can.
Yeah, no, exactly. Literally do a lap around the garden, work for Captain
Yeah.
Tom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you get what I mean? But it's just, I don't know. It's like social media and the news, everything is just, it's all or nothing. But the trouble is that well, it is all or nothing, isn't it?
Well, I think the all or nothing approach is, as you're right, it's all over social media, it's all over the news, it's everywhere. And I think people only get kind of highlighted for that kind of all or nothing approach. And what I found with the all or nothing approach is that people are great for a couple of weeks. And as you say, maybe they've been through something and they've started to get their mind better. Now they're getting their body better. And they go kind of hell for leather into it for 2 weeks, maybe. And then something happens. It might be work or it might be a family commitment or something like that. And they'll miss one day, they'll miss 2 days, and then that just derails them. Whereas, if I were to say to you, look, instead of doing that hour or 45 minutes, all I need you to do is 15 minutes, get out and walk around the block. You can pretty much do that every day, come rain or shine. And it's much more manageable than going kind of all or nothing approach to things.
Yeah. So with some of your clients and people, do you deal with many people who've had mental health issues?
Yeah, I had a client last year and exercise became his crutch. Exercise became, he worked in a very full on job. And I think pre-pandemic, when he left work, work stopped. And then post-pandemic, obviously things had changed and boundaries had changed. And when he left work, he just came home to work. But exercise was his savior. And all he was doing was 15 minutes kind of home circuits a day that we were writing for him. But that became just a mental break for him from work and from everything else. And that crutch kind of saw him through what he was going through. And now he's in a fantastic place. Exercise is just part of his lifestyle. But all it started with was 15 minutes a day. That was, sorry, not even 15 minutes a day, 3 times a week. That was it.
Was that just a walk or something, was it? Or
It was a home workout. We gave him 3 exercises that he would
yeah.
do as many times as he can in 15 minutes. And that was it. And it just changed his whole approach to fitness. And so as you say, that all or nothing approach, we just broke it down into a really, really simple format that fit in. I mean, he knew that he could find 15 minutes. He might not be able to find half an hour, but 15 minutes was completely doable. And that became, I remember going to see him and he was at a point where he couldn't speak or hold a conversation. but I could show him what to do, and he'd copy what I was doing. And it was, I said, look, if you want me to talk, I'll talk, and if not, I won't. And we just kind of got through sessions like that. And then fast forward 6 months, he was in a completely different place.
Wow. Okay. So would you? I'll give you an example. If somebody's, I don't know, if somebody's watching this and they haven't got out of bed for a week,
Yeah.
because they just can't, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what the reason is. There are people who will be watching this where they'll be like, "That's me." What would you say for them to do, just to do something? I'm not asking you
It just is.
to.
Yeah, no. I certainly can't fix it. But what I would say is just do something. It doesn't have to be any grand gesture. If you can't get out of bed, maybe that's just going to be mustering up the courage to get out of bed and walking to your front door and walking back to bed. That's something better than nothing. Maybe that she'll do that once one day, and your goal is the next day just to do that twice. I think just those really, really small steps, baby steps,
Yeah.
is where it needs to start. And then they build into something bigger and greater over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say don't tell anybody?
Would I say don't tell anybody what you're doing?
Yeah, it was because some of the things. Yeah, again, I'll just give you some things what I've noticed, and I don't want to annoy anybody who's done fundraising because it's always been a help. But I have seen sometimes where people they've messaged the page, and they're like, "I'm going to walk 100 miles," and you start to have a bit of conversation like, "Okay, I'm going to walk 100 miles. I'm going to announce it to the public. I'm going to set up a Just Giving, and then for about 2 days." After 2 days, it's completely and utterly gone. They've deleted, like sometimes they've deleted their social media, and I think it's because they've put themselves under so much pressure. Actually,
Yeah.
just do
I
it.
think there's two schools of thought with that. I think there's one school of thought, there's the accountability that they're saying, right, well, if I tell people about this and if I message that charity and I'm going to set up a fundraising page, it's going to hold me accountable to do it.
Yeah,
What I would say to anyone in that is start to do something first. I think what probably happened in that instance was the realization of the kind of granditude of what they had started to undertake. And what I'd say to that is just do it for you. Just start with those small steps and think, right, I don't know, I'm going to walk a mile today, let's say, and the next day I'm going to walk another mile. And maybe this is something that can turn into 100 miles. And if that is the case, then that's the time to sort of contact a charity and think, right, I know I can do this
yeah,
because I've gone from here to here for myself. I say do it for yourself rather than anyone else. And there is an accountability factor, maybe telling your partner that's what you're going to do.
yeah.
But I don't know whether social media is the right place to put that.
I'd
I
agree.
don't know whether that keeps you accountable or if that just makes you feel you're more accountable. But I say do it for you and not anyone else.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing. I think we're also in that weird place. Social media is to blame, where directly or indirectly we want to please the people who are following us, and I just think it's a bit of an added pressure, isn't it, of just showing that you're
I,
doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously I live and work in the fitness world, and I think it's a very unrealistic place. If you look at, Google, just type in fitness on Instagram, you get all these pictures of men and ladies who look a certain way. And I think there is that pressure to kind of, well, that's what I want to look like, or that's what I want to look like. Where in reality, if you were to type in, I don't know, dad fitness or dad bod or something like that, there is something you can relate to a lot more than those people. And I think that social media can give off both a wonderful thing and also a very negative side of things as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because one of the things we had a guy called Ash, actually, funny enough, he runs a gym or something. It's like a year-old video, ages ago, Ash, and he outed a video where what it was is some model, and this was a good-looking model, to be fair, but they recorded that she was putting the fake butt cheeks down her leggings.
Right. I think I've seen this actually. Yeah.
Do you know the one I'm on about?
Yeah.
And the way he did that video, he didn't out anybody. He didn't do it in a
Yeah.
malicious way, and that's
Highlighted.
he just highlighted and just saying, actually, do you know what? If you look up to these people, you are never ever going to get there because it's fake.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's true,
Absolutely.
and especially when it comes down to mental health, and with people who've got whatever mental health issue are under so much pressure as it is. Why try to add on pressure where you can't compete with somebody putting butt chicken, whatever they're called, down their back? So
Yeah.
you just can't do it. You can't do it. It's impossible.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that, as you say, there's a lot of pressure in that. And I think, again, that kind of boils down to those kind of baby steps. I think what you're seeing with someone is perhaps an end picture that they've worked on for 15 years. They're at Z and you're at A. And I think it's about that process between there and there. But I think we get kind of blindsided by that end product and how these people look or how they're perceived to look. There's a lot of false imagery and stuff in there as well. But I think that's why, you do you. And I think it's a really important thing with fitness that, don't compare yourself to anyone else.
Yeah.
Just do what's right for you. And maybe it is that person who can't get out of bed, or maybe it is that person that's going to walk 100 miles. They're all starting with them and their individual thing. And then it's just about kind of building on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to ask you a question, actually. I'm just going to chuck it out. You just said, how have you got happy with you being you? I've no idea. You've just said something. I don't even know why I'm asking, but you've just said something. I'm like, how are you happy with yourself?
How am I happy myself? I think that's a good question. I think,
Sorry.
I went out with some friends. No. I went out with some friends a while ago. We went away for a weekend. These are my oldest friends, and they said the same sort of thing. I think it's kind of acceptance. It's knowing who you are and knowing your capabilities and then blocking out everything else. And I think I'm quite good at sort of knowing and believing in myself and just blocking out all the other noise around it. And there's a lot of noise, but it's a journey that I've been on. I started in fitness. I actually worked in marketing for years and hated my job, didn't like what I did. And I kind of got into fitness and just started working on myself day by day. And I worked within the kind of sports media industry, and I was able to learn loads off people I was working with. I thought, you know what, I can make a living off this.
Yeah.
And then took the necessary steps to kind of work towards that. But, everyone has good and bad days. And it's just about working on yourself every day. And I think if you can find that time to work on yourself for 10, 15 minutes, maybe it's not even fitness, maybe it's just reading a chapter of a book, or maybe it's listening to a podcast, or maybe it's something else, but generally something that's going to make you feel better about yourself every day. I think that kind of builds that more rounded picture of you.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one, but I think it's one of those. The reason I'm no fitness guru, far from it, but I look up. I'm lucky. I'm lucky. This is the thing. I have to be very careful of, like, well, just go for a walk in the fields. Actually, most people don't have a field. I live in one, so I kind of have to. I do have a house. I don't just don't
Yeah.
just live in the field.
But even to those people who don't have a field, I think, walk to the shop, or make it a part of your life. Or if you're going to drive to shops, park further away and walk that next bit to the shops or whatever it is. I think there's so many little steps. Those who commute to work, get off the bus and stop earlier, or the train and stop earlier, and walk that last bit. And I think there's so many little things that you can do. It doesn't have to be, right, I'm going to run a 5K, or I'm going to walk 100 miles. I think everything does start with really small steps. Yeah. And I think people try and skip that and go to the bigger things. And I think just taking it day by day is a really big thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things. I've never ever known a single person, well, in my life, where they've not felt better after a couple of minutes walk.
Yeah, it's it does wonders for you. Yeah,
yeah. So I was going to say something now. I've lost my mojo now.
I'll come back to you.
No, I've completely lost it. So with your clients, do you? At what moment do they come to you, especially if they've just recovered after a mental health breakdown, or just feeling?
Well,
when do they?
I think everyone, regardless, at some point gets to a point where they put their hand up. They raise their hand and say, let's take January for an example. January is a great example where people join a gym, right? So much money gets wasted on gym memberships in January. People join the gym, they don't go, or they don't go as much over those 2, 3, 4 weeks. And then what happens in February is they put their hand up and they say, I need a bit of help. And then that's all it is. I need a bit of help. So you have a little chat. Okay, well, look, you're here. You want to get to here. Let's put all the steps in place to get you there. And that's all it is. It's just breaking that down, putting those steps in place to get someone from A to B, get them to B, and then say, right, where we're going to go from there.
I find that interesting then, because if you have conversations like that about basically, in a nutshell, it's getting fitter and looking better.
Right.
But men won't do that for their brain.
Men won't do that for their brain. I think the key to that is, I use the word there, put their hand up. And I think sometimes that's what men don't do, whether it be for mental health or for fitness or for anything else, is just that I'm going to put my hand up and ask for help. And I think that's the kind of stipulation that as guys, maybe we shy away from.
Oh, without question, there is absolutely a stigma associated with men's mental health.
Yeah.
We can't deny that. And like I was saying before we hit the record button, I think we've all put ourselves under a lot of pressure, and even up to a point, a lot of mental health awareness campaigns and whatever else is like, if you're feeling sad, if you're feelings, and actually some blokes don't want to talk. I'm not a crier. I very rarely use the term feeling sad. I might bounce around depressed sometimes, but I'm like, Adam, I just feel crap today, mate. This is why. I don't think it's like we've been forced into everything has to be about mental health, and what am I trying to say? There's a big difference between mental health and mental health illness. A massive poor mental health can escalate into mental illness or mental health issues, but they're two totally and utterly different things. And I think putting the pressure of, or using the terminology of depression, feeling sad, depression, insomniac, kind of undermines, puts too much pressure on people who, it silences people who are just having a bad day.
Yeah, I think
Have I
we're
made
very
sense?
quick. Yeah, you have. I think we're very quick to put a title on things. Yeah, it must be this or it must be that. And as you said before, I think sometimes maybe a guy just wants to have a rant about something. They don't just want to, just want someone to listen to their rants and then move on with their day. And I think it looks different for everyone. I think to then put a title on things, it takes it down a whole other avenue.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So bloody hell, we've flown for it. Bloody hell. So just before we do, because we're quite hot on that 20 minutes, just because blokes are lazy. Blokes are lazy.
Yeah, of course.
If somebody's watched this video and they're I don't know, triggered, upset, I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter what it is. What would you say to them if they can relate to this video going, oh bloody hell, that's me? What would you say? What's your advice?
I'd say what I said before. I said, just do something. Something is always better than nothing. And maybe that does just look like walking to your front door or walking back to bed. Let's just start with that. Take baby steps every day as it comes. Take baby steps. And then the next day, just try and improve on that. And I think that would be my big takeaway from it.
Yeah, it really is as simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. Let me hit the unrecord button thingy. Bear me 1 second.
Cool.